I want to start today's deep dive by tapping into a very specific, honestly, a very painful memory.
Oh boy, that sounds promising.
Yeah, well, I think anyone in the corporate world, or, specifically the legal world, has probably repressed this.
Okay, lay on it.
So it's Friday. It is always a Friday.
Right.
It's like 4:45 p.m. You are ready to go home. And then an email lands in your inbox from a partner or maybe a project lead.
Mm-hmm.
They have a folder. It contains 400 PDF documents, and the message just says, these need to be uploaded to the court portal by 5:30, but...
There's always a but.
Exactly. But the court requires the date to be in the file name, and currently they are all named Scan01, Scan02, Scan03.
The classic scan_nightmare. Yeah, I can actually feel my blood pressure rising just hearing that.
Right. So you're staring at your screen. You are working inside a secure document management system, likely imanage work, and you realize you really only have two terrible options. Option A, you open every single file, hit F2, rename it, save it, and just repeat that process 400 times until you develop carpal tunnel.
Which, let's be honest, is usually what actually happens. And, you miss happy hour.
You completely miss it. Or there's option B, you send this frantic ticket to the IT help desk, begging them to do a bulk SQL update on the back end, just hoping someone is still at their desk.
Right. And that right there is the friction point, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's this massive tension between the need for speed, like I need this done right now, and the rigid, secure structure of an enterprise document system.
Mm-hmm.
You just end up feeling bottlenecked by your own tools.
Well, that headache is exactly what we are trying to cure today.
Awesome.
We are diving into a tool called PowerDesk by MacroAgility Systems, Inc., and it basically claims to be the option C in that terrible Friday afternoon scenario.
And just to set the stage for you listening, this isn't some standalone platform that completely replaces your current system.
Right.
It is a tool built specifically for imanage work.
Yeah, and looking at the technical documentation and the feature breakdowns we have for this deep dive, my first reaction was honestly, okay, great, another plugin, another toolbar taking up space.
Sure, that's the usual reaction.
But the more I looked at the architecture, the more I realized this is actually trying to solve a pretty fundamental problem in how we interact with data.
It really is.
So our mission today is to figure out if this tool actually solves that IT bottleneck, or if it just adds another layer of complexity.
I think solving the bottleneck is definitely the right way to frame it. But it's also about something much deeper.
Which is?
Data governance versus user autonomy. Like, how much power do you actually give the users before they break something?
That is the big question. But before we get to the fear of breaking things, let's talk about the user experience. Because the very first thing that jumped out at me wasn't a feature, but kind of a lack of one.
Right.
There is no app to open.
Stick a pin in that, because that is the native integration aspect, and it is huge.
Yeah, the specs heavily highlight native right-click integration.
Yeah. To understand why that matters so much, you kind of have to look at the graveyard of failed legal tech tools.
Oh, there are many.
So many. Historically, if you wanted to do something quote-unquote advanced, like bulk moving folders or renaming 1,000 files, you had to launch a completely separate admin console or, some clunky third-party desktop app.
You have to log out, log back in, find the right menu, export the data.
Exactly. It totally breaks your flow state. And in user adoption terms, that is just death.
Right.
If a lawyer or a paralegal has to switch windows to do a task, they often just won't do it. They will stick to the manual way because it keeps them in their familiar environment.
So PowerDesk is effectively saying, don't leave the house. You are in imanage, you see the folder, you right-click just like you normally would to copy or paste, but suddenly there are these super-powered options right there.
Right. It lives right in the context menu. It democratizes those admin tasks by putting them exactly where the user is already clicking. It just completely removes the friction of tool switching.
Which sounds great, but let's be real for a second. Who exactly are we giving this right-click superpower to? Because if you give every summer intern the ability to rename the entire firm's archive, you are going to have a really bad time.
Incredibly bad time. And no, this is absolutely not for everyone. The target audience here is very specific.
Okay.
We are talking about litigation support, knowledge management, so the KMM teams, records managers, and practice administrators.
The people who are effectively the janitors of the data. And I mean that with the utmost respect, because cleaning up digital messes is really hard work.
It is the hardest work.
Yeah.
These are your trusted power users.
Yeah.
The problem right now is that these power users know what needs to be done.
Yeah.
They know, I need to move this massive case file to the closed archive, but they don't have the permissions or the tools to do it in bulk.
Right.
So they have to ask IT.
And IT hates those tickets.
IT utterly despises those tickets.
Yeah.
It is low-value, tedious work for a database administrator, but it's high-stakes work for the legal team.
Right.
PowerDesk effectively steps in and says, let's actually trust the power users to do this themselves.
Okay, so we have the who and the where. Now I really want to get into the how, because I was reading through the technical specs. And there's some heavy lifting going on under the hood here.
Oh, definitely.
It's not just a simple script running on your laptop.
No, not at all. And this is where we have to get just a little bit technical to really understand the value. The documentation strongly emphasizes that PowerDesk is built on the iSync Kit 2 platform.
But why should you care about that if you're just trying to rename a PDF?
Because of stability and speed. Have you ever tried to download, say, 2 gigabytes of files through a standard web browser?
Oh, absolutely. You sit there watching a little progress bar crawl, and then you get distracted, you open a new tab, maybe check your email, and suddenly the download just fails. Network error.
Yeah. The dreaded timeout. Yeah. That happens because in a traditional browser setup, your computer is trying to keep a live, continuous connection open with the server for the entire duration of that task. If your Wi-Fi blips for even a second or the browser runs out of memory, the connection snaps. The job just dies.
And you have to start all over again.
Right. PowerDesk uses this iSync Kit 2 platform to do background processing.
Okay.
When you tell it to rename 5,000 files, you aren't actually doing the renaming on your browser. You are sending a command to this server saying, hey, go do this.
So I can literally just close the window.
You can close the window. You can go to lunch. You can work on a completely different case.
Yeah.
The server handles all the heavy lifting asynchronously.
Wow.
It doesn't rely on your browser keeping a fragile connection open.
So that is the reliable processing piece. But what about the speed? Because the specs mention something that really caught my eye, multi-threaded processing.
Adjustable thread counts up to 32, to be precise.
Okay, pretend I am not a systems architect. What does 32 threads actually mean for my Friday afternoon panic?
Okay, let's go to the grocery store. Imagine you are at the checkout. You have a cart with 1,000 items in it. Those are your documents.
That is a very full cart.
Very full. Now, usually you have one single cashier. They scan one item, beep, then the next, beep, then the next.
Right.
That is single-threaded processing. It works, but if you have 1,000 items, you're going to be standing there until midnight.
And everyone in line behind you absolutely hates you.
Precisely. Multi-threading is like suddenly opening 32 checkout lanes simultaneously.
Okay.
You take your giant cart, you split it up into 32 smaller baskets, and 32 cashiers scan them all at the exact same time.
So the job finishes 32 times faster.
Theoretically, yes. The source material explicitly claims that operations that used to take hours or even days now take minutes.
That is significant. I mean, we aren't just talking about saving 5 minutes of waiting here. If a big data migration takes 2 days, that is a weekend lost. If it takes 20 minutes, that's just a coffee break.
Exactly. And it's not just about the time saving. It's about operational agility.
What do you mean?
If a partner comes to you and says, hey, we need to restructure this entire workspace immediately, you can actually say yes.
Ah, right.
In the past, the answer would have been, okay, put in a request with IT. We'll try to schedule the migration for next Saturday during downtime.
You become a blocker. But this makes you an enabler.
Correct.
So let's look at what you can actually do with this speed. The features in the documentation seem to fall into 2 main buckets: bulk operations and workspace hygiene.
Let's tackle bulk operations first. This is really the meat and potatoes of the tool. Bulk document rename is the feature we led with in our Friday example.
Yeah.
But think about the application beyond just fixing a typo. Think about enforcing standardized naming conventions.
Right, because things get messy over time.
Exactly. In big firms, you might have a strict rule that every single contract must start with a client ID. If that ID changes, which happens all the time, you suddenly have 10,000 non-compliant files sitting there.
Ouch.
PowerDesk lets you run a massive find and replace across the metadata or the file name instantly.
That's a huge lifesaver for the records
It
team.
really is. Then you have bulk document download. And this is vital for e-discovery.
I definitely wanted to ask you about this, because usually exporting stuff out of iManage isn't that hard, is it?
For 5 or 10 files, no, not at all. But for a whole case, it's a complete nightmare.
Why?
Native iManage often limits how many files you can download at once simply to prevent server strain. So if you need to provide a massive data dump to opposing counsel, you're often stuck doing it in tiny batches of 50.
Which is completely mind-numbing.
PowerDesk safely bypasses that limit. You select the main folder, you hit download, and it just zips it all up. And again, it's using that background processing so your browser doesn't time out halfway through.
Got it. And the third feature in this operations bucket is secure document deletion, which honestly terrifies me a little bit.
It should terrify you. Deleting data is permanent. But from a strict governance standpoint, it is entirely necessary. You simply cannot keep data forever.
Is that mostly because of liability?
Liability, pure storage costs, and heavy privacy regulations like GDPR.
Right.
If a client formally says, delete my data, you need to be able to actually delete it, not just hide it from view. PowerDesk gives those power users the ability to identify obsolete content and scrub it out cleanly.
Okay, so that is handling the documents themselves. What about the workspace hygiene bucket? This sounded more like structural organization to me.
Yeah, think of this as feng shui for your database.
Oh.
Over time, workspaces get incredibly messy.
Oh, I know.
People constantly create folders named new folder 2, important stuff.
Don't forget temp and do not delete.
Exactly. It completely destroys your taxonomy. You can't find anything when you need it. PowerDesk allows for folder rename, move, and delete across the entire workspace hierarchy.
So I can basically take that messy, chaotic structure and force it back into compliance.
Yes, exactly. And interestingly, it also supports workspace folder creation using what they call standardized taxonomy patterns.
Okay, what does that mean in plain English? Standardized taxonomy patterns.
It just means you can template your folder structures.
Ah.
Instead of letting a lawyer create whatever random folders they want, you can push out a standard set, like correspondence, pleadings, evidence, invoices.
I see.
And you can magically create these standard folders inside existing workspaces in bulk.
So if the firm suddenly decides, hey, we need a new compliance 2026 folder in every single active case, you don't have to manually create it 500 times.
Exactly. You push one button, and that folder appears in every target workspace simultaneously. It ensures higher workspace quality. When the structure is consistent everywhere, people spend way less time searching and a lot more time actually working.
Okay, I am completely sold on the utility. It sounds incredibly useful, but now I have to play the role of the paranoid chief information security officer.
Ah, the CISO. I was waiting for them to show up.
The CISO is looking at this documentation and screaming.
Naturally.
They're saying, you are giving users a button to bulk delete. You are letting them rename thousands of files with a simple right click. How do we stop a total disaster?
It is the fear factor.
Yeah.
And it is the primary objection to tools like this from any IT department. But if you look closely at the security model, it is actually quite robust. It is not a free-for-all.
So how does it restrict me?
First, granular access control. Just because the software is installed on the server doesn't mean everyone gets every button in their menu.
So it's not all or nothing.
Not at all. You can set it up so that the litigation support team can rename and move things, but maybe only the senior records manager has the ability to delete. You tailor the tool specifically to the role.
Okay, that definitely helps.
But the more important piece, and this is absolutely critical, is permission inheritance enforcement.
Explain that. What does that mean in practice?
PowerDesk is an extension of imanage. It is not a separate God mode application. It strictly respects the underlying security of the document itself.
So if I don't already have permission to see a file in imanage, I can't somehow rename it or delete it in PowerDesk.
Correct. It does not bypass existing security. It enforces it.
Good.
If you try to bulk move a massive folder and that folder contains a highly confidential file that you aren't personally allowed to touch, the operation will just skip that file, or it will notify you. It cannot break the need-to-know walls that the firm has already set up.
That is a huge relief. So it's basically a faster front door, not some sneaky back door.
Exactly. And then, for the ultimate peace of mind, you have the audit trail.
The black box recorder.
Precisely. Every single action is logged. User identity, the timestamp, the action type, the results, and all the error details.
Yeah.
If 500 files suddenly vanish on a Tuesday, you know exactly who did it and exactly when.
Which effectively creates real accountability. If I know my name is permanently stamped on that massive bulk delete action, I'm going to triple check everything before I click it.
Precisely. This is what leads to full compliance auditability.
Yeah.
It takes what used to be a very shadow IP operation, like someone secretly running a script on their desktop, and turns it into a fully governable, traceable, firm process.
So in a weird way, giving users this powerful tool might actually increase security because you aren't forcing them to find sketchy workarounds to get their jobs done.
That is exactly the argument. Strong data governance isn't about locking the doors so tight that nobody can move or work.
Right.
It's about building really wide hallways with lots of cameras. You let people flow and work quickly, but you maintain total visibility and control.
I really like that image. Wide hallways with cameras.
It's the modern approach to enterprise data.
So let's pull this all together for you listening. We started with the total nightmare of manual data entry on a Friday. We looked at PowerDesk, which is essentially this high-speed, multi-threaded engine bolted directly onto imanage.
Right.
It solves the adoption problem by just living natively in the right-click menu. It solves the crash problem by running safely in the background. And it solves a governance problem by tracking absolutely everything.
It perfectly balances the equation. Speed plus security.
But I do have one lingering thought about all this, and this is more about the software industry as a whole than just this one specific tool.
Go on.
Why do we even need this?
What do you mean?
Well, why doesn't imanage just have a hyper-fast bulk rename button built right in natively? Why are we relying on third-party symbiotes or plugins to do basic things like efficiently moving a folder?
That is the eternal question of enterprise software.
Right.
The big platforms, the iManages, the NetDocuments, they are like giant aircraft carriers.
Oh, yeah.
They are huge, they are powerful, and they are incredibly slow to turn.
Makes sense.
They have to focus on the absolute core. Massive storage, unbreachable security, and global search.
So they just can't build every little feature for every single specific workflow.
Exactly. And that naturally leaves a gap. A gap where the user actually lives and breathes every day. Tools like PowerDesk are micro-optimizations. They perfectly fill that gap. They are the agile speedboats running right alongside the massive aircraft carrier.
So as our digital workspaces get more and more complex, are we actually going to see more of these micro tools that live inside our main apps? Or will the main apps eventually just get better and absorb them?
I think we'll see more of them. The main platforms will always provide the heavy foundation, but that workflow efficiency layer is going to be dominated by specialized tools like this. Tools that inherently understand that renaming a simple file on a Friday afternoon shouldn't take 3 hours of your life.
And honestly, if a tool saves my weekend, I really don't care who built it.
Amen to that.
Well, that is a wrap on our deep dive into PowerDesk. If you find yourself constantly drowning in Scan 001 files, maybe go tap your IT director on the shoulder and ask for a slightly better right-click menu.
Just maybe don't ask them on a Friday at 4.45.
Good advice. Thanks for listening to the deep dive. We will catch you next time.